Thank you. The gentleman's time has ended, and I will take the opportunity to question now and appreciate the panel for being here. This is an open hearing with a great opportunity. I would quickly add that I appreciate the fact of having a rural mail carrier that services my home and services is not only with the mail, but in many human ways that add I think, some real special additional effects to what a mail carrier can do. And I appreciate the work that is involved there. I also have a daughter who lives in a third world country and works there. And I know for a fact that her mother and I are unable to send her mail with anything of value in it, knowing that it probably won't reach her. We don't worry about that in the United States. So I applaud you for that, and I thank you for the service that you provide. But we also have to understand that we got to make it work for the taxpayer too. And I appreciate the efforts, and that's why these hearings are being undertaken. I received a letter just recently from a constituent in my district that operates a family-owned mail transportation business and employs 45 people in doing that business. His business performs services at a fraction of the cost of USPS employees, and this tentative contract, which insources 600 highway contract routes, could negatively impact upon his small business. Mr. Miller, as you rightfully stated in your testimony, using contractors helps lower the USPS costs. Can you quantify how much contracting saves USPS overall, and explain how the tentative agreement with the APWU that insources at least 4,000 jobs will help attain fiscal responsibility?
Mr. Chairman, I would be glad to do that in writing. I haven't those numbers on the top of my head. On the second part of your question, there was some give and take in this agreement. We gave a few things the unions, the APWU wanted. We took things, and they took some things that we asked for. As I think the Postmaster General has described this morning, and if not, we'll send you some additional information, the unions have to compete for this insourced work. They have to demonstrate that they will provide it at least the same cost that we could go outside and get it. I think it's very important that we be aligned.
That's the same cost at this point in time, but not dynamically.
The same cost could be contracted for at whatever point that it might be.
But the concern that, as we look at the budget dynamically in the future, that indeed can be a low cost put in now, taking these jobs away without the incentive in the future because of the contracting situation we have.
Mr. Chairman, you're absolutely right, and we have to be very careful the way we execute that provision. But you put your finger on something, and that is the importance of our being able to continue contracting out, and contracting out in some areas where the service is now provided by postal employees. This is a way of our lowering cost and keeping a restraint on labor, wage, and benefit demands. And I will come back to a point that in response to Congressman Mica's raising about the sale of assets and about relocation, et cetera. We have been very troubled, the Postmaster General, the previous Postmaster General, the Board of Governors, by the propensity of Congress to put riders on appropriations preventing our doing these things. And that's one reason we haven't done as much as we might have. And if there could be a moratorium, it's like a moratorium on earmarks, there could be a moratorium on these riders, I think we could move more swiftly and more effectively and efficiently in the areas that Congressman Mica identified, and the area that you're identifying, that's contracting out.
Well, that's certainly worth looking at and part of the process. But let me just jump here quickly in the few remaining seconds. We've talked about contracts. Well, what would a good contract look like to you, Mr. Miller? And then I would want to jump over to Mr. Donahoe.
A contract would be one in which the service provided would be at least as good as what we are accustomed to having, and the price would be lower than what we're paying now.
Mr. Donahoe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have 30,000 contracts in the United States Postal Service. So we contract everything from using FedEx's planes, where they're the largest customer, all the way down to a number of mom-and-pop contracts like you talked about. We take every one of those contracts very seriously. What we looked at in this negotiation with the APW as far as bringing some work back in was our ability to absorb work into the existing framework. The flexibility that we got in truck schedules allows us to schedule people in a much different way than we had in the past. We used to schedule 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. The new schedules give us a lot more flexibility. I can absorb in the 8-hour time frame smaller contracts with HCR, and saves me bottom line money without adding on any people, at the same time absorbing those costs. That's what we've looked at. We have embraced process management in this organization across the board, and we have rooted out numerous costs and identified these opportunities, and that's what we pursue. The other thing that's important, we did not give up any ability to outsource. As a matter of fact, the APWU has asked that they are able to compete on a same basis with any outsourcings going forward, and I welcome Mr. Guffey to come in with those proposals.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Donahoe.
Thank you.
My time has expired. We'll move on